All right. Please stand and cover yourselves for the reading of our scriptures. They are quite long today, but fabulous nonetheless. We begin our journey through chapter 25 of Shemot, also known as Exodus. We begin with verse 1. Vayedaber Yahweh el Moshe lemor. Daber el bnei Yisrael veyichu li teruma me'et kol ish asher yidevenu libo tikhu et terumati. Vezot ha teruma asher tikechu mi itam zahav bachesef unechoshet utechelet ba'argaman vetolaat shani veshesh ve'izim ve'orot elim me'adamim ve'orot tehashim ba'azeh shitim shemem lamo or basamim leshemen hamishcha veliketoret hasamim avnei shoham ve'avnei mi luim la ephod ve'la choshen ve'asu li makdash or mikdash rather ve'shachanti betocham kechol asher ani mar'eh ot ha et tavnit ha mishkan ve'et tavnit kol kelaiv ve'chen ta'asu ve'asu aron azeh shitim amatayim va'chetzi arku ba'ama va'chetzi rach bo ve'ama va'chetzi komato ve'zipita oto zahav tahor mibayit umichutz tezapenu ve'asita alav zer zahav saviv ve'yazakta lo arba ta be'ot zahav venata ta al arba pa'amotav ushete ta be'ot al za'o ha'echat ushete ta be'ot al za'leo ha'shenit ve'asita vade atzei shitim ve'zipita otam zahav ve'heveta et habadim bata ba'ot al za'ot ha'aron laset et ha'aron bahem beta be'ot ha'aron yiyu ha'badim lo yasuru mimenu venatata el ha'aron et ha'edut asher eten elecha ve'asita chaporet zahav tahor amatayim va'chetzi arka ve'ama va'chetzi rachba ve'asita shenayim keruvim zahav miksha ta'aseh otam mishnei ketzot ha'kaporet va'aseh keruv echad mikatza mize ucheruv echad mikatzav mizemin ha'kaporet ta'asu et ha'keruvim ashnei ketzotai vehayu ha'keruvim porese chenafayim lemalal la sochim bechanefehem al ha-kaporet upenehem ish el achiv el ha-kaporet yiyu penei ha-keruvim venatata et ha-kaporet al ha'aron מלמעלה, ואל הארון תיתן את העדות אשר אתן אליך. ונועדתי לך שם, ודיברתי איתך מעל הכפורת מבין שני הקרובים אשר על ארון את העדות, את כל אשר אצווה אותך אל בני ישראל. ועשית שולחן עזי שיטים אמתיים ארכו ואמה רחבו ואמה וחצי קומתו. וזיפית אותו זהב טהור ועשית לו זר זהב סביב. ועשית לו מסגרת טופח סביב, ועשית זר זהב למסגרתו סביב. ועשית לו 4 טבעות זהב, ונתת את הטבעות על 4 הפאות אשר ל4 רגליו. לעומת המסגרת תהיינה הטבעות לבדים לשאת את השולחן, ועשית את הבדים עזי שיטים, וזיפית אותם זהב, ונישא בם את השולחן. ועשית כארותיו וכפותיו וכסותיו ומנקיותיו אשר יוסח בהן זהב טהור תעשה אותם. ונתת על השולחן לחם פנים לפני תמיד, ועשית מנורת זהב טהור מקשה תעשה המנורה ירחה וקנה, גביעיה כתורהו ופרחיה ממנה יהיו. ו6 קנים יוצאים מצידיה 3 קני מנורה מצידה האחד, ו3 קני מנורה מצידה השני. 3 גביעים משוקדים בקנה האחד, כפתור ופרח, ו3 גביעים משוקדים בקנה האחד, כפתור ופרח, כן, ל6 הקנים היוצאים מן המנורה. ובמנורה 4 גביעים משוקדים, כפתוריה ופרחיה, וכפתור תחת שני הקנים ממנה, וכפתור תחת שני הקנים ממנה, וכפתור תחת שני הקנים ממנה ל6 הקנים היוצאים מן המנורה. כפתוריהם וקנותם ממנה יהיו כולה מקשה אחת זהב טהור. ועשית את נרותיה 7, והעלה את נורותיה, והאיר על עבר פניה, ומלקחיה ומחצותיה זהב טהור. כיכר זהב טהור יעשה אותה את כל הכלים האלה. And finally, verse 40, וראה ועשה betavnitam asher ata mar'e bahar. All right, so you may be seated. Told you it was lengthy. It's good stuff. Let's get right to it. Of this chapter, Shemot by Drazin and Wagner says the following. In the 7 chapters which follow, that would be 25 through 31, the Lord gives Moses detailed instructions for the construction of the tabernacle and its furnishings, the ordination of the priests who would serve in it, and their garments and vestments, as well as various other elements of the tabernacle service. These sections contain many obscure details, especially in regard to the tabernacle's construction. Also, the Bible does not provide us with a theological underpinning relating to every aspect of the tabernacle and its, what is that word, Donna? Appurtenances? I have no idea. The stuff in it. Umberto Moshe David Casuto's commentary on Exodus says the following. The Torah was not concerned to state explicitly all the particulars that would have been necessary if its intention had been to describe the tabernacle and its, there's that word again, contents with complete exactitude, and to afford adequate guidance to anyone wishing to fashion a tabernacle and its equipment according to their design. Much of what is essential for this purpose is not in the book. It is very interesting to note that in the very passages where the lack of detail in the text is most noticeable, it is stated that the Lord showed Moses the likeness of the object that he had to make, as though Scripture intended to say that whatever is not explicitly mentioned in the description of the articles was shown to Moses by heaven in a vision. Sorry about that. So today we begin our journey through the process of preparing a place for our God to live in our midst. Today we begin our journey through the process of preparing our lives and actions to live in the midst of God. Today we begin to understand the most intimate details of our relationship with God. Some of us will have a tendency to fall on our faces and say, I am a wretched man of unclean lips. That should ring a bell for some of you. But it is in those times when we will look to the tabernacle of God and remember to take the shovel and clean out the ashes, refill the oil, and replace the wicks in the menorot. That's menorah in plural. Even for those who tend to see the negative, these times will ultimately bring peace and joy. I would like to suggest that you begin a journal to write down these experiences and the revelations of your relationship with God as we take this most incredible journey. All right, so we're going to begin, obviously, with Shemot, or Exodus chapter 25, verse 1. Literally in English, it says, and he spoke Yahweh to Moshe to saying. So it's in Yahweh spoke to Moses saying. Really, that's all it's saying. Va Yah daber, and he spoke. It's setting in a row. It's ranging in order. It's to lead, to guide somebody with your words. And it was Yahweh who said those words, El, which is to Moshe. So he said these words to lead Moses. He said these words to guide Moses. And then it says, Lemor. That's to say, or saying. It's to shed light on the subject. So the translation is, and Yahweh spoke to Moshe saying. It's really all you get out of it, right? It gets deeper, I promise. In verse 2, literally in English, it would say, speak to children Yisrael, and he take they to me offering from all that man he willing us, heart he shall take they, offering me. Really, if you just read that slowly several times, you'd get it. But anyway, it says, daber is our first word. I do apologize for my voice. It just decided to go today at the top of the hour instead of the end. But this is that same word of setting in a row, ranging in order, to lead, to guide. So He's saying, lead and guide the children of Yisrael. Yisrael, not Yis. I don't know why I say that from time to time. Then it says El, which is two. Say to B'nai, the children. Often the time B'nai in the biblical text is translated as sons, because the children in some cases were just the sons and not the daughters. The sons did something, but the text says B'nai, uses the word B'nai, which is children. And so it gets translated as son and is often thought of as a masculine, but it's not. It's masculine and feminine. It's children of both sides of the fence, if you will. So, Yisrael. So that's, say it to everybody, not just the guys, not just the adults. Say it to all of the children of Yisrael. The Yihu. Literally it's and he take they, so and they will take. It's to take, to stick together, to adhere. It's the idea of glue. It's the word they use for when you take a wife. So you're going to take something and grab a hold of something. It says li, to me, take to me, or bring to me, teruma, an offering. It's a gift. It's not a tithe, it's a gift. Bring to me a gift. Me'et, from coal, from all asher, all the ish, all the men. And this is a man as opposed to a woman, so the men are the ones that are supposed to do it. All the men, yidevunu, or yidevenu, he willing us. It's to impel, to urge, to incite anyone, hence to be willing. So it's everyone who feels this urge, everyone who's something about their heart is being pricked, right? Everybody who's libo, whose heart, that's the innermost part of you, the insides of you, is something's boiling up inside. There's a prick in there. There's a whatever you want to, however you want to describe it, from whoever's willing, whoever has that thing inside of tikhu, it'll be taken from them. So they're going to grab it, they're going to bring it to you, you're going to take it from them. And then it has et, which is just a pointer, and then it says terumati. There's your offering, teruma, the offering. This is not teruah, the feast of noise. Teruma, offering. So you shall bring the offering. So here's your translation. Guide the children of Israel to take a gift offering from all the men whose heart is compelled. They will bring the gift offering to me. Of the words whose heart is completed or compelled, or however we translate it, the Sepharno said no obligatory offering was to be made. Only voluntary gifts were requested. Of the words to me, Rashi said, not for God's use, but for the glory of his name, because he was worried that people were going to think that, okay, so you bring God a chunk of gold and he's going to go pay his bills with it, right? So he wanted to make sure people didn't take that wrong. Onkelos changed the words from to me to before me, which is exactly what it meant. Bring them before me, bring them before God. Verse 3, literally in English, and this the offering that shall take they from them, gold and silver and brass. So it's vezot, and this. Ha teruma. So, and this is the offering, asher, that, tikehu, that you shall take. You're going to take it from them. This is what you're going to ask for. Me'itam, this is what you ask from them. Zahav, you'll ask them to give gold, and it's exactly what you think of. It's the gold-colored chunk of rock that people like to try to find in the ground so they can be rich. Then it says vechesef, and silver, unechoshet, and brass. Pretty straightforward here. And this is the gift offering that you will take from them. Gold, silver, brass, comma. It's not the end of the sentence. The Hebrew sentence is going to go on. They'll be broken up. This will be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't recall how many of them, but it's all actually one verse in Hebrew. But they break them up because they become so long-winded. So anyway, this is just the first part. Of the words, this is the gift offering. The Sephorno limited any and all gifts to the list. However, the text only limited what should be asked for, not what should be accepted. So if somebody's heart was pricked and the only thing they had to give was copper, and later on they'll ask for that, but let's say that they didn't, just got some little chunk of copper, they're not going to tell him, no, you can't give that because that's not what God asked for. If all he has is, trying to think of something, a fishing boat, and he wants to give that, and they're not going to say, no, you can't give. So the Sephorno is really wrong. There's no text to support that, no reason to believe it. Anywho, even Ezra said that only the priest would have precious stones to give, based on the first book of Let's Just Make It Up As We Go. Actually, it is based on a tradition that came much later than Sinai. He also said that there were 15 gift offerings and 1 mandatory offering of silver. It's utterly made up. They're taking stuff from the Dark Ages, feelings and about things and beliefs, and shoving them into Sinai. This is just so wrong. Rashi said that the silver part of the gift offering was obligatory. There's no basis for it. The text will not hold up to this scrutiny. It's just something that in their time was important, believed, and pushed. Sa'adia implies that there was a mandatory silver offering and a voluntary silver offering. Probably where Rashi got it, right? Casuto added the following to the verse in his commentary on Exodus. The use of iron in the generation of the wilderness was still a novelty. So this is the beginning of the Iron Age. And new things are not to be used for sacred purposes. In accordance with the principles of conservatism obtained in ritual tradition, for this reason, no mention is made here of iron. While interesting, it is more likely that God simply didn't want this material to be used in his house. I mean, it's unbelievable. They're taking, what's the word I'm looking for? Ideas and beliefs and feelings that come from the Dark Ages and later, and shoving them into Sinai as if it's all true, because they read it in the Mishnah, and that must mean it goes all the way back to Sinai. No, the Mishnah was written in the 400s. You can push it if you're artistic enough, you can push the Mishnah to the early 200s. I don't buy that. I don't see it any earlier than the 400s. And then it worked its way took until the 900s until the thing was completed. And they're taking this stuff and shoving it all the way back to Sinai. No, we got to stop doing stuff like that. Verse 4 literally would say, and blue and purple and scarlet, crimson, and 6 and female goats. All right, so utechelet and blue. A shellfish, a species of mussel found in the Mediterranean Sea with the blue shell from which the cobalt purple is made. I've seen this. They thought it went extinct and then all of a sudden it shows up again, right? I've seen this blue and I would not call it purple. Nothing I've seen is purple. Now, when it's first brought out of this mussel, maybe it is, but by the time they put that on the material, it's blue, which is, I guess, why they say blue here. Then it says that argaman, which is purple. It's from the reddish tint to the blue. That's purple. Then it says veto laat and scarlet. they get this. This is red, if you will. It's from a worm. The word here is what they call a worm, and the mussel. The idea of the blue coming from the mussel. The what I'm not terribly sure of is, did the mussel get its name because they had a word for blue and they just attached it to that mussel, or did the color blue come from the description of the mussel? You know, which came first, the chicken or the egg? And it's actually important here because the idea that in Judaism for many, many years was that you could not wear a blue fringe, a blue thread in your fringe, because you didn't know what color blue, because the mussel was gone. Then once they got the mussel, they had to come up with a new reason why they shouldn't wear the blue. It basically boils down to, since the Christian Messianic crowd is wearing the blue, they don't want to get tied up with that crowd, so they're still not wearing the blue. That's the true underlying thing there. But, you know, let's not do what God said, because we don't want to get lumped over there with those people. That's a really bad idea. But it's important because if the shell was named after the blue, then the blue color existed before the shell. If the blue was named after the shell, then it's the other way around. Think about it, you'll get it. It would be the same thing from the worm itself. Does the color for scarlet come from the worm, or did the worm come from the color of the scarlet? Shani, crimson. It's a deep scarlet. So you had I guess a lighter color and a darker color. Then it says veshesh, which is and 6, ve'izim, which is the word for and female goats, literally. So what do you have here? Your translation is fine linens of blue. Where did I get linens? I don't remember saying anything about that. It has to come from the color itself. You have the word for blue, right? And it's the name of the shellfish. But obviously in Hebrew, they're using this of linens of those colors. I don't see the word for linen here. I remember thinking there was a reason to put it there at the time. So I think it's just implied that the blues and the scarlets and the purples and the crimsons are going to go on the linen. But it's really, I'm seeing dye here and not linen. Anyway, of the word blue, based on the Babylonian Talmud, Menachot 44a to be specific, Rashi said that the blue came from halazon, a shellfish, which was blue-green in color. It's about all I could find on that anyway. So I still think dye, but the purpose of the dye, of course, is for the linens. Then it says, in skins, rams from redness, in skins, badgers and timbers, shitim. So it's ve'orot in skins. If you shoot a deer and you cut its skin off and tan its hide, as it were, that's what they're talking about. And they, like guys that go trapping, and they have a whole, you know, big old thing of pelts, if you will. Those are the skins. You guys know what I'm talking about. So it's saying the skins, elim, of rams. So they want the rams. Ma'adamim, from redness. It's to be red, from the root which means blood, from its red color. As an example in here, their princes were whiter than milk. Their body was more ruddy, more red than coral. That's Lamentations 4:7. Whiteness and rudiness belong to the description of youthful beauty. So hopefully you're starting to see here an idiom. Hence, this verse is speaking of young, pure rams. So we were watching the show Dirty Jobs just this morning, and they were going out and gathering up, was that crocodile or alligator eggs? I guess it was alligator. And the guy was saying that at 10 weeks, the alligators are ready for sale, and they sell them so people can make jackets, purses, boots, stuff like that. Young ones, because the skin looks better. It's of that youthfulness, right? And so when it's saying the word here from the redness, it's actually saying youth, the young ones. The orot, and then it says, and skins, tehashim, from the badgers. Now, something you need to know about this, they say badgers, right? And the skins which are used both for a covering of the Holy Tabernacle and for making shoes. Possibly a dolphin, which are common in the Reed Sea, or perhaps a seal, but almost without a doubt, a badger. Now, Cassuto added to that, the skin of these creatures is very strong. Until a few generations ago, the sandals of the Bedouins in the peninsula of Sinai were mostly made from them, from the hides of badgers, the hides of dolphins, the hides of what was the other thing I said? Seals. They made their shoes from these because they were such good quality hides. Then it says ba'atzeh, and timbers. It's a tree, it's wood, especially of a wooden post or a stake. So think of it as lumber. Shittim is your Hebrew word. It's a large tree growing in Egypt and Arabia, having the bark covered with black thorns. It has blackish pods, and wood is very hard. And when it grows old, it resembles ebony. It's a very dark, black-looking wood. So your translation, and ram skins and badger skins and timbers from shittim trees. Of the word badgers, Rashi said it was a species of wild animal that existed only during the tabernacle period. So why would he say that? Well, because in his time, they didn't know what they know now. Let's just put it that way. And so since the Hebrew word is not terribly clear, because it wasn't used very often, almost not at all, it's a little sketchy, right? In his time, they don't know for sure what they're talking about. So he says, well, it was probably an animal that just doesn't exist anymore. Of the word shittim, trees, based on Tanhuma, Rashi said that Yaakov, or Jacob, somehow foresaw that the Jews would construct a tabernacle in the wilderness. So he brought them to Egypt with him, planted them, and then instructed the children of Israel to take them with them to the wilderness. So where did Yaakov get the seeds? When did he plant the trees? And when did he water them? Oy vey. Even Ezra said they found this wood in a forest near Sinai. Because, see, Sinai is just a desert now. If you read the biblical text, they were there a while. They cut down everything. They cut the whole Sinai forest down, and it became the Sinai desert. You know what I'm saying? Just thinking out loud here, people. All right, verse 6. Oil to from light, species to oil, the anointing, and to incense, the spices. So shemen is oil. It's from fat, the idea of fat, because there was a time when whale blubber was the thing. You know, it's how we lit our houses and stuff like that, right? So it's a feast of fat things is the idea behind this. And the yoke of Israel is broken because of fatness. You know, they got lazy and quit living according to God's law. The metaphor taken from the fat bull that cast off and breaks the yoke, and also, man, That's all you need to know about that, right? It's oil. It can be any kind of oil. Then it says la ma'or. So it's oil for light. It's oil to light your path, your house at night, that kind of thing. Basamim. Now it says spices. Sweet smell, especially such as spices emit. You know, the good sweet smell that comes from them. Leshemen. To oil. So you got spices that are going to go in the oil to make it smell good. Hamishcha, the anointing oil. There's very specific things you do with it. Beli ketoret, and to incense. So you're going to spice up your incense with this stuff too, make it smell better. Ha-samim, the spices. So your translation is an oil for light, spices for the anointing oil, and spices for the incense. It's not just any spices. Verse 7. Stones onyx and stones setting to ephod and to breastplate. Avnei, that's stones. By the way, that's where you get your name Evan. Stone. Avnei, so it's in plural, right? Stones. A stone of any kind, whether rough or polished, very large or very small, doesn't make any difference. It's still a stone. Used of the foundation stone of a house. Metaphorically, of a hard hat. Used also of... Yeah, I was like, what? A hard heart. Yeah, his heart is made of stone. We have the same. I like hard hat just fine. A precious stone, a gem. Anyway, you guys know what a stone is. Shoham, onyx. It's a species of gem, according to many, sardonyx or onyx, so called from its resemblance to a human nail. I didn't know that. Ve'avne, and stones. So you have the stones of onyx, and now you have and stones. And what's our next word? Miluim, settings. Wow, it says inauguration to the sacerdotal office, properly the delivery of the office, the sacrifice of inauguration. Inauguration. I said that wrong. Wow, that's a weird way to say it. So it's settings, la ephod, for the ephod. A garment of the high priest, worn over the tunic and robe, without sleeves, divided below the armpits into two parts. The anterior, of which covered the breast and belly, the hinder covered the back. These were joined on the shoulders with clasp of gold, set with precious stones. This garment reached down to the middle of the thighs and was bound to the body by a belt. Beside the high priest, others also wore this garment. David, for instance, when leading the sacred dance, and Samuel, the servant of the high priest, and also priest of an inferior order. As the material, the high priest's ephod was made of gold, purple, scarlet, and byssus. That of others was made of linens. Interesting, huh? Velachoshen. That's and to breastplate. So it's use of the breastplate of the high priest. That had 12 precious stones placed in it. So it's shoham stones and stones to set in the ephod and the breastplate. Pretty straightforward, right? All right, has anybody caught on to any of the stuff that I mentioned? This is where we're learning our place with God and all that. So the people that are standing before God, the people that are closest to God, they have to wear some pretty special clothing, don't they? Of the word stones to set, Rashi and Rashbam said the stones were inlaid. Nachmanides said the stones were held by a triple-toothed claw that made them stand out. Cassuto said the following in his commentary. It was not impossible for these materials to be in the possession of the Israelites. Some of them, like the metals and precious stones, they could have brought with them from Egypt. And not without purpose were we told earlier of the jewelry of silver and gold that they received from the Egyptians before leaving. They had an abundance of wool and ram skins, since they possessed very much cattle. Remember, sheep and goats and stuff like that, and rams, they were called cattle by the Jews. So they had a lot of that. That's what he's talking about. There was a plentiful supply of the shittim trees locally, he said. It was not difficult to acquire dugong skins, that's the dolphin or whatever they are, in the neighborhood, whilst other things such as dyes, oil, spices, and the like could be purchased from the caravans passing through the area. For the working of the metals, they were able to utilize the services of the members of the neighboring Kenite tribe. Yeah, because they probably didn't have any stonemasons or any metal workers in their group, right? Anyway, I don't disagree with him. I just think that they would have had metal workers in their own group. All right, so we got verse 8. The English, and make they to me mikdash, and dwell me in midst them. Ve'asu, properly to labor, to work about anything, to make, to produce by labor, to manufacture, to fabricate. You get the idea, right? So they're going to make li, to me, mikdash, a holy thing, something consecrated, a sanctuary, a holy place, specially used of the holy tabernacle of Yisrael, of the tabernacle of the temple. Right? So you're going to make a place for God to dwell. You're going to make it. And this is the word where you get the idea for the works of God. If you're not going to have a physical temple where God dwells, and that temple is going to be your body, which was a teaching that was very, very popular in the Second Temple period and since, then you're going to have to do the works of Torah to prepare the temple, right? That whole thing comes from this. So you're preparing this place for God to dwell by doing what God asked you to do. You do his works. In this case, they're going to have to actually build something, right? Then it says, Veshachanti, and dwell me, and I will dwell. This place for God to settle down, place for him to encamp, to dwell, to abide. And it says Betoham, in the midst, in the middle, so called from its being divided, the middle part of the house, the interior court. So if you're talking about a human being, metaphorically, as being the house, your body is the temple. Some of you have heard them say things like that. I guess you get it. So here's your translation. And make a mikdash, make a sanctuary for me. This is God talking. And make a sanctuary for me, that I may dwell in the midst of them. Of the words that I may dwell in the midst of them, Onkelos almost always changes God dwelling to the Shekinah dwelling. That's where that whole idea comes from, is Onkelos. The idea being God does not need a place to dwell and is not confined to the temple or tabernacle or some box in the Holy of Holies. Rather, the temple and the tabernacle with the box was there to inspire the people living according to God's law. I am in absolute agreement with this. It was never supposed to be thought that God was literally dwelling in that place. It was supposed to be the image, the shadow of what was supposed to really go on inside the temple where God dwells. You. Verse 9. As all that I appearance you, pattern Mishkan, and pattern all vessels, and thus shall make they. So, kehol, which is as all. So, according to everything I share, that ani, that I mare, that I show, everything that I've shown you, everything that I have made you to perceive, everything that I have made you to comprehend, according to otcha, to you, that I've made you to understand, tavanit. This is the pattern, the structure, the model of ha-mishkan. This is the model of the Mishkan. So if you stop and think about it right now, what is the model for the Mishkan? It's the Torah. It's the how do we live? How do we prepare this place? What do we do? We're learning now how that we're supposed to be dressed a certain way when we come into the presence of God. If we're the one that's doing what I'm doing, I have to dress differently than the way you dress. But if you're going to stand before God, if you're going to invite God into your presence, there's a certain way you have to dress, right? So we're learning about that. We know from Sinai that you have to wash your body and you have to wash your clothing. And so these things start to add up. And the further we go into it, the more clear this is going to become. So this is the Mishkan. This is the dwelling place that all this is going to take place. This is Ve'et and Tavinit. And the pattern, kol all kelive, of all the vessels, all the things that you use, the utensils, the plates, the things that you pour with, what do you call those? Pitchers, if you will, the jugs that they used, that they had ladles, is that right, that you pour things out with for the oblation offerings. They had all kinds of things. And one important one was the shovel. And by the way, they found these. I've got pictures of them, of shovels from this time period that were used to take the coals out. Like I said in the beginning, when you realize that your fire has burned down or has burned out, what do? You take the cold stuff, you take that shovel, you scoop it out, and you set all this stuff in there to rekindle a fire. When your lamps start going low, you refill the oil, you put new wicks in and stuff like that. These are the utensils that you're going to use to do this with. So all of that accordingly. And thus ta'asu, according to this pattern, you will make it. You will do the works. The works. Asa, properly to labor, to work about, to produce, to manufacture, to fabricate. This is what they talk about. These are the works of God, which are the works of the Torah. So here's your translation. According to all that I have made you to see, you shall pattern the Mishkan, the tabernacle, and all the vessels, thus you shall make them. So, as you're perceiving these things, this is what you do to pattern yourself, your life, so that this tabernacle is, you've got to do it according to God's way, not according to your way, but to God's. We had an incident, something like this morning. Child comes in, hole in the pants. Now listen, that's not God's way of doing it. So the child changed clothes, right? Because we're going to do these things according to what God has shown us. And God has shown us that we don't show up. Well, it's a little early for that. We haven't gotten into the specifics yet. But so there's not a lot that you know at this point. Don't worry about it. Don't try to jump from A to Z. Enjoy the journey from A to Z. And A is a very long trip from one end of A to the other before we go to B. Enjoy it. Trust God. Today is the time for you to begin this journey. This is not the time for you to end it. All right, so of the words, all that I have made you to see. Even Ezra believed that Moses actually saw these things, while other prophets like Ezekiel saw things in a vision. The text does not support his belief, of course, but it is not against it either. Of the words, thus you shall make them, Rashi believed that these words meant that everything that had to be replaced in the future had to be an exact copy. We know that this was not the case, as Solomon and King Herod built things differently, and their implements couldn't have been identical since there was nothing for them to base this upon. So look what I just said, and look what this guy just said, what Rashi said. Now, he believed that it had to be an exact copy. We already know from the time they built the temple to the time Solomon built from the tabernacle, rather, when Moses was alive, Moshe, from the time Shlomo or Solomon builds the Heichal, the temple, the actual building, they do it differently. And the utensils that existed during the time of Moshe don't likely exist during the time of Shlomo, and they certainly didn't exist during the time of the Second Temple period. So what's happening here? We're seeing that the men who built this did it according to what God had shown them, their understanding of the Torah. Are you following what's happening here? Moshe was told to do it according to his understanding. Shlomo did it according to his understanding. And these understandings are not just, oh, well, I think. No, these were well-educated men. These are men that studied the Torah 40 years before they ever endeavored on this, right? Because Moshe was 40 when he left Egypt. He spent 40 years face-to-face with God in the wilderness before he goes out into the wilderness, leads the people out into the wilderness, and then builds a Mishkan. When he built this thing, he knew what he was doing. He understood it, right? He didn't start off with no knowledge and say, this is what I think, this is what we'll do. That's a bad approach, just saying. Josephus and the New Testament letters both say that no one could say with any degree of exactness what the ark, or for that matter, any implement of the temple looked like, since everything from Shlomo's temple was gone many centuries before the second temple was rebuilt. You can get it in both of those places. Well, we have run out of time. I don't have time to jump into 10 today, but I hope you've enjoyed this journey, and I hope you're starting to get things and see things. Just write it down. Just write it down. You'll really enjoy going back and looking at it, because you'll look back at it a year later and realize how wrong you were about some things, but you'll look back a year later and remember certain things and say, oh yeah, those are great. Don't worry about it. It's okay. Trust God. He'll show you as we go. And right now it's a little early. So don't be looking too deep. I'm just saying. Shalom, shalom, y'all.